Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Hack, and in case you didn't know, your build is probably getting buffed in update 33. This is because many class and weapon skills in ESO are now better than ever, providing more power, more convenience, or more viability than they have in the past. In this video, I'll be listing off the best updated skills that you need to use in update 33 and explaining exactly what's changed for the better. So strap in and get ready because your build just got buffed. So, top 12 skills on our list, and we're counting down from 12 with the skill Camouflage Hunter. Now, this is a Fighter's Guild ability that previously gave weapon critical and minor berserk, so it was mostly used by stamina builds, but in update 33, it now gives both weapon critical and spell critical, making it a 100% amazing skill to run on magicka builds and hybrids from now on, not just stamina builds. Keep in mind also that Fighter's Guild passives are great now for all builds in the game as well. With just one Fighter's Guild ability slotted, you'll get additional weapon and spell damage, as well as free ultimate every time an enemy dies. So if you aren't using Camo Hunter yet, make sure to check this out. Number 11 on our list is a class skill, and this is going to be the Warden's Heal Fungal Growth. Now in update 33, both the stamina and magicka morphs of the skill now do over 10% increased healing, for the same cost as before. So this is definitely a nice upgrade for Wardens. Now the Warden class actually did very well this patch, especially when it comes to healing overall, as they'll have another healing skill coming up on this list in the top 3, so stay tuned for that if you have a Warden build. Number 10 on our list affects both magicka and stamina sorcerers, and that is that both Boundless Storm and Hurricane have substantially longer durations now in update 33. For Boundless Storm, this ability has been increased to a 30-second duration, which more or less matches with Critical Surge, which is going to be a big convenience for the Mag Sorc. It's going to simplify your rotation a lot. And also for stamina sorcerers, Hurricane now has a 20-second duration. And note for Hurricane that this also affects the duration of the dot effect, as well as the speed buff. So this is more or less a convenience update for sorcerers, but it's definitely nice for some easier buff management. For number 9 on our list, we're going back to weapon skills for a second, and we're going to look at the bow skill line, specifically Venom Arrow. Now this morph still interrupts casting targets, as it always has, but it now provides an additional buff for you bow users out there, and that is major brutality and major sorcery. If you weren't aware, this is a very important damage buff, which you definitely want on your build at all times in some form, whether this is from a weapon skill, a class skill, or from potions. Now, Venom Arrow will be especially good for range builds who want to use bow on both their front bar and back bar weapons to get this buff. Previously, you weren't able to do that. You might have had to run something like Two-Handed Rally to achieve the same buff, or you would have had to use one of your class skills or a potion. So for pure bow builds, this is going to simplify things a lot, and it's especially good on classes that don't have this buff very easily accessible. I'm talking about Templars and Necromancers. Now there is actually another buff that I recommend for range builds that I think is slightly better, which we'll get to in a few minutes, but keep Venom Arrow in mind if you like that bow playstyle. All right, next up on our list, we're going to dive back into class skills, specifically the Templar class. And Templar's got definitely a lot of interesting changes this patch. One of the biggest ones has to do with biting jabs. You can see at the bottom here, this ability now grants you major brutality and major sorcery, increasing your weapon and spell damage for 10 seconds by 20%. Now, this is an extremely important buff. As we've talked about before, I don't see magicka Templars using biting jabs. I don't think they can do that really because this is a spammable skill, and it's going to be hard to maintain this on a magicka build. But for stamina Templars or hybrid Templar builds, using biting jabs as your main spammable is going to be really nice now, because you're going to get this very important buff for free, and you can potentially free up an extra skill slot or free up your build to use a different type of potion. Now, if you're worried about major savagery, remember biting jabs has had that weapon critical buff in the past. We can still get that from Camouflage Hunter. We already talked about that skill, but you can also get that from a different skill in the Templar class under Dawn's Wrath. Sunfire and actually both morphs now give you both major savagery and major prophecy. So you could do Vampire's Bane for a nice single target dot, or you could use Reflective Light to damage multiple targets. Either way, you'll still be able to get that weapon crit buff on a stamina Templar, plus you now get major brutality for free. Number 7 on our list is an update that I think a lot of people may have missed, but this is very strong. I'm talking specifically about Reverse Slice from the two-handed skill line. This skill is now getting a sizable buff in Update 33 and will now damage nearby enemies for 100% of the damage done to your initial target. This is a ton of splash damage. I think before it was like 75 or 76%. Now you're doing exactly the same amount of splash damage. Plus remember, this is an execute skill. Now this is even going to be an option for Magicka builds this patch, as all of your damaging skills are actually going to increase their damage with your highest offensive stats. So if you want a cheap to cast AoE execute ability for any setup in the game, you should definitely consider using Reverse Slice. This brings us to number 6 on our list, and we're going back to the two-hander for a minute, and I want to talk about Rally and Forward Momentum. Both of these skills have been great buffs for stamina builds in the past, but in Update 33, they are now viable for Magicka builds and hybrids. That's because when we look at both morphs, they now give both of our main damage buffs. So that's, again, Major Brutality and Major Sorcery, increasing your weapon and your spell damage by 20%. Other than that, Rally hasn't really changed. It still provides minor endurance, so 15% stamina recovery, and it still gives you the big burst heal. But check out Forward Momentum. This gives you minor endurance as well, but it now lasts double the duration. So you get a 40-second buff for either Major Brutality or Major Sorcery, whatever you need. That's actually really nice, especially for Magicka builds who typically have class heals. You could run something like Forward Momentum on the Magicka Templar or even the Magicka Necromancer, get your spell damage buff, and have it last for a really long time. Number 5 on our list is more of a PvP update, and that is both morphs of Javelin from the Templar class skill line. This skill got a buff in terms of its effect in that the stun now ignores block. I think this skill has always been a nice ranged option for the Templar class, either Magicka or Stamina, but now it's going to be even more powerful as long as you can land it on a target. Number 4 on our list is one of my favorite options now in Update 33, and that is Degeneration from the Mages Guild. This skill got changed to now give both Major Brutality and Major Sorcery together, so it's going to be a great option for maintaining this important buff, especially if you are a ranged build, regardless of whether you are Stamina, Magicka, or Hybrid focused. And I've used this on my Hybrid Bow Nightblade build, and it's extremely effective. Remember that it also gives a fairly strong single target dot, which will scale with your highest offensive stats as well, helping to increase your overall damage. Plus, it has a longer duration than the buff that we saw on Venom Arrow, so you might actually prefer this skill too for ranged builds. Number 3 on our list is the reworked Power Slam. This thing is so fun to use on any build because it functions as a spammable DPS skill with very low cost, good light attack weaving, plus it hits harder than most class spammable skills that I've found, especially if you use the new block functionality that increases this skill's damage by 33%. So yes, Power Slam is going to be an amazing option both for PvE and PvP builds moving forward. Plus, did I mention it also interrupts targets? And it scales up with sets and CP that increase your bash damage because it's technically now a bash. Amazing upgrade, you have to try this. Number 2 on our list is Lotus Flower and Lotus Blossom, both healing morphs from the Warden class. Now both morph options in this case are very good, with Lotus Flower healing for more, and Lotus Blossom getting an increased duration to 1 minute long. I love how this skill works now because it just makes the rotation so easy. I only have to cast this buff once or maybe twice in most fights, and the duration takes me all the way through. Remember also that heals now scale up with your highest offensive stats, so you're going to get much better healing than you ever have if you also run these skills on a Stamina or Hybrid Warden build. All right, and that brings us to number 1 on our list, the most improved skill in ESO Update 33, and that is Burning Embers. Yes, Burning Embers from the Dragonknights skill line got a major update, and it's going to be insanely powerful for all DK builds moving forward, whether you are a Stam DK, Magicka DK, or Hybrid build. That is because Burning Embers no longer heals you when the effect ends, but now heals you at any time that you do damage, and it heals you for 100% of the damage done. So the more damage you do with this skill, the more it heals you back. This basically has gone from a strong burst heal to an even stronger heal over time. Keep in mind you can also apply this to multiple targets. So in the case of soloing 2 bosses here, I can apply it to both and get double the heals. So yeah, I'm still exploring this for a Hybrid Dragonknight build update, but it seems crazy strong right now. I think you could potentially drop another heal like Cauterize for more damage, or even stop using a Pale Order Ring if that's what you're using currently. This is a major upgrade for the Dragonknight. But that is it, folks. Those are the top 12 updated skills right now in the Elder Scrolls Online, coming in update 33. Hopefully you found that helpful, and it gives you some ideas on how to update your build moving forward. Of course, if you enjoyed the video today, do me a favor and crush that like button, and let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Which of these 12 skills do you think is the best? Which ones are you going to put on your build this patch? Definitely curious to see what you all are working on. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're doing well. Stay safe out there, and I will see you around in the next video.